Hi, and welcome once again to the Digest. My name is Andy and I'm the Academic Director of ELT Central. Our aim is to make you the best students that you can be, and we want to provide you with the best advice and help that we can. If you've got any suggestions at all for future presentations, then give us a shout and we'll try to organise it for you. Today, we've got another helping of our Student Survival Study Skills series, and we're going to look into the details of citing and referencing APA 7th edition. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so that you don't miss any future clips, and feel free to share the videos with your friends. All right, let's start at the beginning and ask, what is citing? Citing essentially is letting the reader know where you found the evidence for your argument. And so the next question is, what kind of thing do we cite? Well, the answer to that is simple. Everything you use to validate your argument or that has informed you of something that you've written. As I'm sure you're already aware, because why would you be here otherwise, there are a number of systems used to cite and reference in academic work. The two most commonly used are APA, which we're looking at today, and there's also MLA, Modern Languages Association, that Chicago comes close to. However, for this session, as I said, we're going to look at APA and the most recent changes, which make this the 7th edition. The rules cover the writing style, the way you edit, and how you credit people. Okay, so whose ideas you may have used when writing up your work, as well as the formatting of the work as a whole, although we're not going to go too heavily into that in this clip because this one's more about the content than how it looks aesthetically. All right, so what does APA cover? Well, we've got manuscript preparation and publication, documentation, lit reviews, essays, reports, dissertations, theses, and such like. The next question is, what kind of thing do we cite? So here's a quick task for you. Grab a pen and paper or use your iPad or other device to make a list of the things you think that we might need to cite when we write an essay. You can stop the clip for this, by the way, write them down, and then we'll restart and see if we've got the same kind of thing. Okay, so stop. And here we are back again. Did you get any of the following? All right, so we've got lots of things like books, journals, articles, newspapers or magazines, TV shows, paintings, photos, websites, comics, everything that's not your original work or idea. Next question, why do we cite? We cite to give the original writer the credit they deserve. For example, why would I allow anyone to use the research I've conducted to make their work great without them giving me the credit for what I've contributed? Also, it's to show that you've properly researched your subject. It is also so that your teacher or whoever's looking at your work can cross-reference, can check it. And it's also used to ensure that you don't get nicked for plagiarizing. All right, so that's stealing someone else's work and passing it off as your own. Next thing is, what is citing and referencing commonly used for? All right, we use it for direct quotes, paraphrasing, and summarizing. All right, so direct quotes, we do this using rabbit's ears and a couple of other formatting things that I'll explain soon. Paraphrasing, that's when you use someone else's ideas, but you put them in your own words, and we'll look at that in a little bit more detail later on. And summarizing, which is similar to a mini paraphrase, but it's shorter. It's a synopsis. Paraphrasing is the whole thing. Summarizing is a shortened version. Why do we use a certain style? Okay, so for example, why would we use APA and not sort of mix them up? As long as we cite them, surely that's okay. Well, not really, no, because what using a certain style does is it means your work will have a consistent format. So the people reading it are going to be used to that format, and your teacher or other people who read your work can cross-reference the ideas and the sources that you use. What this also does, it helps you become a more credible researcher. While you're working, your best friends will be your dictionary and your thesaurus. I've always got them open on a separate page, always, whenever I'm working. Let's have a look at how we do it. All right, so let's look at, first of all, most obvious is a short quote from a book using an in-text citation. Just in case you're not sure what that is, an in-text citation is a piece of information that tells the reader that the idea or the direct quote within that sentence has come from someone else. And with the citation, we're providing the original writer with the credit for either the direct quote or the idea behind the theory behind what you've used in your assignment or your essay or whatever. So we're giving them the credit for it. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use a quote from one of my books here. Why not? This one is called I Was There When We Were Crap, and it's about following Manchester United as a fan. And this is a direct quote. All right, so Pacino 2011 states, the cup final saw all four of us brothers at Wembley, and as usual, I cried at the poignant bit, the national anthem, and then we've got the page number page 119. We can see that this quote is a section of the work that matches the section of the original document and has been reproduced verbatim. So you've copied it word for word. This must be attributed to the original author and written using quotation marks because it's a direct quote. Also, because this is a direct quote, page number or page numbers must also be given. So we get 2011, P119. Or if it spreads over more than one page, then, 2011, PP 119 to 120. The P is lowercase in this instance. So if that's the citation, the reference for that would be Pacino, comma, space, A, full stop, space, open brackets, 2011, close brackets, full stop, space, title, and then publisher. Now, if you're used to using the 6th edition, you'll notice the title is still written in italics. The first word is capped up, the rest is uncapped, and we no longer have to include the geography. So while this was originally published in Manchester, in England, we don't need to say that anymore. An ebook is cited and referenced in exactly the same way, but all we do here is add the web link or the DOI. So for this citation, we'd have the same thing. Now, what happens here, you can see, because we've got a colon, the next letter is also, or the next word is also capped up, and we've got United because it's a proper noun capped up as well, and then we've got the publisher, No Ordinary Family. Then what we've got is the website. Again, the title is written in italics. If we look at another direct quote, you'll notice there's something different about this one. What is it? All right, we can see here, according to Pacino, 2011, he received quite a few letters addressed to the house with the car in the garden, Manchester, England. I put Partington on the world map, me. And then we've got the page number there. So what you can see here is two things. First of all, we've got the ellipsis. It's in the middle of the quote. And what that does is shows that there are some words missing from the entire thing, from the entire quote. You may also have noticed there are single quote marks as well as the double quote mark. So this means that there's another quote inside the quote. So someone else had said something in the book. So we lift Pacino's words in double quotes on the rabbit's ears, and we also lift the words from the envelope that was sent to his house, which is the single rabbit ear either side of those words. Again, we can see the page number because it's a direct quote. It's word for word. Right, what you'll probably notice about this one is that there's no page number in this example, and this is because it's not a direct quote, it's a paraphrase. You can see here, all four brothers watched the FA Cup final of 1990, and Andy cried at the national anthem. So we've got Pacino, 2011. Again, we've got no page number. And again, similar, his 2011 book stated that he and his brothers watched the FA Cup final of 1990, and he cried at the national anthem. So notice how the dates work with this example. We can see the first instance, the date is in brackets with the name. But if we've already mentioned the date within the text, as we did with this one, then we don't need it in the brackets as well, because that would be overkill. Again, a reminder, there's no page number because they're not direct quotes. Now, what you can see here is, if you look at the first one with the direct quotes, the second one here, all four brothers watched the FA Cup final of 1990 and the cried at the national anthem, you can see it says the same thing, but just in a different way. So the original words, I've made them my own, and as with this one as well, his 2011 book stated in his brothers watched the FA Cup final in 1990 and he cried at the national anthem. So we've said the same thing 3 times. One's a direct quote, 2 are not direct quotes. And the reference for this is exactly the same as it was previously. Pacino, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to go into spaces and commas because that'll just bore you. All right, so moving on to authors. The rules are very similar, but they're a little bit different. So this text was lifted from a research paper that Pfizer and I did on teacher attrition rates in Saudi Arabia. The text here: many teachers complain there are discrepancies between them and their native English-speaking teacher, NEST, counterparts in monetary compensation and the treatment they receive from their peers and students. Pacino and Qureshi, 2021. And what I've done here is used the information from the original, but I put it in my words, so there's no rabbit's ears and there's no page number. You can see here there are two names, Pacino and Qureshi, and some referencing styles like Chicago, for example, use the whole word and, the A-N-D, and some use the ampersand, which is the sort of squiggly and. In APA, we use the ampersand between the names and in the text citation and in the reference. So we can see the first name, the ampersand, and then the second author, a comma, and then the date. However, it's different when we use the names within the text, as you'll see here. Pacino and Qureshi stated that teachers were unhappy with their treatment. So you can see here that we use the full spelling and not the ampersand because it's not inside the brackets. Okay, so if it's in the brackets, it's an ampersand, or in the reference, it's an ampersand. But if it's not, then it's A-N-D, it's the whole word. We can also see, again, there are no quote marks because it's a paraphrase of the text and it's not lifted word for word. The referencing is similar, with the second author's name being added as so. So Pacino, comma, A, full stop, and ampersand, Qureshi, comma, F, full stop, date. And then we've got the title of the article here. And again, you can see it's all lowercase other than the first word or proper nouns. The journal title is in italics and uses caps for each word because it's the journal title. What we've also got is a volume number and then the number in brackets with no space between any of them. As I mentioned before, you'll notice there's no geography, but there is a DOI. A DOI is a digital object identifier. And that's also changed from the 6th edition. Previously, we gave only the initialism, DOI, and the number, but now we prefix that with https://DOI full stop org/. And you can see that here. So we've got the whole thing there. And this is from the journal that the research was published in. And when you click on this, it takes you directly to the article. Another change for the 7th edition is 3 or more authors. We used to write all the authors in the first instance, but we don't need to do that anymore. We just write et al. So, for example, what we used to do was write Pacino, Qureshi, and Steiger 2020. Now we write Pacino et al. 2020. And note the full stop and comma after the et al. So et al. Full stop, comma, date. Long quotes, right? Using long quotes is not a great idea, and so avoid them if at all possible. Now, bear in mind that you're only usually allowed 5% of your work to be direct quotations, and some institutions might be even tougher than that. So paraphrase where you can. And if you want to learn how to paraphrase really effectively, check out my other video for that workshop. Or, of course, you can give me a shout and I'll come and do a free workshop in your school as long as you're in the UAE. I mean, if you want me to do one somewhere else, that's fine, but you have to pay my flights and expenses. Okay, back to long quotes. If you must use them, they're going to be more than 40 words and you must indent the whole quote. There's no need for rabbit's ears here because the indentation will tell the reader that it's a direct quote. Also, you'll set the font half a point smaller than the rest of the work. What else do you notice about this quote? All right, check out the square brackets and the sic between the slides. Now, this is Latin for thus or so, and this points out that the error in the work belongs to the original author and not you. Web pages. There are too many different types to list here, and so we'll just focus on the obvious. Now, if you're giving the reader the entire internet site within your text, for example, ELT Central's brilliant website, includes practical information for parents on how to help their children cope with life in university, and you reference it like so. All right, what about if you can't find the author? Right, if there's no name for the author, you give the site owner the credit. So, for example, if it's something that comes from andypacino.com, then you credit him, not me. If it's ELT Central, then you credit ELT Central in the in-text citation and the website in the reference. https://eltcentral.co.uk, for example, and then just as we did previously. All right, what about if there's no date, if you can't find the date? An in-text citation is exactly the same as for an author with no date. So if, for example, if it's an ELT Central one, but there's no date, we just type n.d. and these are both lowercase. And the reference will be ELT Central, ND, avoiding the most common mistakes in academic writing. And then we've got the website again there that takes you directly to the piece. We no longer have to mention retrieve from like we used to with the 6th edition. We only use the website name, date or ND, the title, the publisher, and then the full web address. Right, electronic documents. So essentially what we're looking at here is documents from the web. What we need to see is the name of the author or authors, if they're given, the year or date of publication, or the date the site was created or updated, again, if it's there, the title of the document. The title of the document is in italics, title of the website or database, the pages, sections or paragraphs, digital object identifier if given, the database name, the current internet address, again, if appropriate. Right, I've mentioned DOI a number of times. What does the DOI look like? Here we go, and there it is. Now, sometimes we come across something we want to use that isn't from an academic journal. For example, we may want to use a newspaper or a magazine. The process is exactly the same, and we can get a lot of information from the page itself. So let's have a look at this one. What information does this article provide that we don't have to go searching for? You can stop the clip and make a list if you like. Stop. And back again. Okay. What do we need and what can we find? Do we need the author? Yes. Is it there? Yes. Title? Yep, that's there as well. Subtitle? Okay, so it's more of a subdeck, which is a journalistic term, but yes, that's here as well. Publication? Yes. Website? Yes. Date updated? Yes. So we've got all that information. Now, how would we cite and then reference that piece? Again, stop the clip if you want to and have a go at it. Pause. Right, did you get it? All right, what about the citation? We've got brackets, Cambridge et al. Remember the full stop and the comma, then the date. That's the in-text citation. And the reference here, we've got Cambridge E through an L and Duval D, 2018. Hash it out. Will cannabis be legalized in the UK? Where are you allowed to smoke weed and which celebrities support legislation? And then we've got the piece that it was in, which is the Sun. News Group is the publisher, and then we've got the full website that will take us right to that piece. What about when we're looking at images? Okay, so here, if we have a look at this one here, this is an example of the British press for you, the good old British press. Now, as much as I dislike this guy's politics, it's Ed Miliband, by the way, the attack is on the man. It's an ad hominem and it's pretty much a disgrace. And citing and referencer is the same as you would any other text. So you've got the author, you've got the date, you've got the title, you've got the name of the newspaper, publishing group. You haven't got that, so you'll have to look for it. So this is how the reference would look. Johnson D, 2014, May 24th. London's made Mr. Weirdo unelectable, Daily Mail News Group, page 14. The newspaper website, you'll notice here the date is different because either it took a while for them to upload the story or they altered it or amended it, but that is the date that was shown on the website. So it's a little bit different. So we've got October 10th here and everything else is the same. And then we've got the website after that as well. Right, what about secondary sources? My advice is don't use them. However, if you really must. So if you read an Alex, say for example, by Alex Reed, where he cites information from Seidenberg and McClellan's study, and you refer to Seidenberg and McClellan's bit in your assignment, as we can see here in brackets, as cited in Reed, 2007, you acknowledge Seidenberg and McClellan in the text. However, in your reference list, you reference Reed's work because that is where you found the information. I hope that's clear. Again, my advice is don't use secondary sources, go straight to the horse's mouth. What if there's no author or no date? Now, the question here is, why would you use it? My advice is don't, and for a number of reasons. You'll have a nightmare sourcing the info. It may well not be valid, and you'll waste a ton of time looking for it. If it's a fact or theory that you really want to use, Google it and find a reliable source for it. If it's valid, there will be plenty of information out there. Okay, that's all for the in-text and referencing stuff. But there are also a couple of noteworthy changes with pronouns, with he, she, him, her. That goes to now to they. Also ranges of cultures or marginalized groups. In order to save embarrassment for those of us who have very little money, we now use a different term. So we mustn't refer to people as poor anymore. We must say people living in poverty. We also have to use more specific terms for things like age ranges. So while at one time we may have said the over 50 age group, APA feels that it's way too wide a range. And so we need to be more specific and say something like in the 50 to 55 age group or the 55 to 60 age group, etc. Then when we have 3 or more authors, I think I've already mentioned, we use et al. When we reference a big group of authors, we can now go to 20 instead of just the 7 that we would have used in the past. We no longer use geography, as I've already mentioned, and we don't need to say retrieved from. There's also the reformatted DOI. We no longer refer to Kindle, we just give the book e-address, and there's an increase in the acceptable fonts, but make sure you refer to your own institution's guidelines there too, to be on the safe side. All right, almost finally, here's one reason why you must never use citation generators. Here's one I used for my article in APA using a very respected academic help site. I won't embarrass them by telling you what it is, and it came back incorrect. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we do not camp up the article title, and this generator has done exactly that. Doing this will cost you points on your grade, so do it yourself and get used to doing it. If you've got any doubts, search for APA 7th edition and you'll get lots and lots of options to choose from. Right, we're almost at the end. Here's a list of all the guides that I cover on the ELT Central website. And I can also come to your school, again, if you're in the UAE or you want to pay my expenses, and give your class a free session on the following. Introduction to University Life, how to avoid the most common mistakes in academic writing, an intro to research, how to form a great thesis statement, how to write an effective paragraph, how to write a great essay, how to paraphrase effectively, how to make contacts for when you graduate, how to ignite the creative flame. What I also do, I'll also help parents. So I'll come into your school. If you have a group of parents there, I'll come in and I'll tell them how they can help their children through university as well. It's a massive investment. And so it's a good idea to do that. All right, so the last slide here, almost the last slide, is my reference list. So that's us finished for this session. You're welcome to have a look at other presentations and let me know if you'd like to come to your school, give your pupils a free workshop. Topics are all on the eltcentral.co.uk website. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps. And click the bell to make sure that you don't miss any of our future clips. Also, feel free to share them with your friends. I'm sure that I'll get a lot of benefit from them. All right. Thanks for watching again. Bye-bye for now.